You stupid bitch. Yeah, you're a stupid bitch. You stupid bitch. Go, go, go.
I thought you were doing
Oh,
one.
I am.
What is even happening? I'm not even drunk.
Yet.
I'm like 2 sips of this. Oh, actually, I've drunken half of it, to be fair, so it's a fucking seltzer, though.
Welcome to another episode of Stupid Bitches Say What, the Aussie podcast about everything and nothing, but always with wine, and your hosts, Skye Collett and Sean Hipkins.
This week's episode is back in time.
Time.
One that generally requires a bit of research. Can I do that again, please?
Mm-hmm.
This week's episode is back in time.
Time.
One that generally requires a bit of research, but also gets us super pumped and makes us feel super smart and knowledgeable. Listen in as Sean presents his facts about the notorious Bushranger, Ned Kelly, immortalised countless times in film and TV. Was he good or was he bad? Well, let's delve in and have a ponder.
Shall we?
Shall we? And to capitalise on this Aussie historical theme, I will cover the Great Aussie Gold Rush, aka Gold Fever, how the events surrounding the goldfield shaped our great nation, and also tales of greed and violence, because let's face it, that's just inevitable no matter what country you're in when great wealth is at stake.
Here.
So what are you drinking, Sean?
Well, you stupid bitch, I'm so glad you asked. I'm
Always so glad I am.
I'm heading down the red road again tonight.
Red rose.
Goes to my head, yeah. It's a Zilzi.
Silsey.
It is. Coonawarra Regional Collection. Coonawarra Regional Collection. It's
Or
a
is
Cab
it
Sav.
Coonawarra?
Oh, is that how you pronounce it?
No, I have no idea.
It's a Cab Sav, and I'm going back in time with my wine tonight, back to 2019.
Oh my God, how much did that set you back?
Look, I don't know. I think it was part of one of my good pair days selection.
I did an order today. I
okay.
brought a case.
Nice.
Yeah.
Angels.
I had 2 free bottles, and they kept sending me these emails because I haven't been contributing the $40. Because, I just took a holiday period when I was staying at Sarah's and stuff like that, and I haven't gotten around to it because I also didn't want a whole case of wine in my house because I was like, I'm going to fucking drink it. And it just flies. You fly through it when you've got a whole case sitting there. Anyways, so, I've got a case coming next week.
Oh, nice. That's exciting, girls. And what, pray tell, are you drinking, Skye?
Well, look, I'm drinking a little fizzer.
Ooh.
Because we're getting on the wines. And I must say, I'm applauding the red wine once again for you because I like it when you drink red because you get super fucking sloshed. And I love
will
it.
be. And it's a double recording tonight.
It is a double recording. So that's why I thought, you know what, I'm going to go light on the old booze. So I've got 4 of these to smash through. And let's face it, I'm going to smash through all 4 of them.
In the first step, yeah.
In the first step. And then I'm going to go on to a bottle of something.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Well, we've got filming occurring tomorrow for the second short feature film that Vinny's part of, and yourself is also featuring in it.
I'm doing voiceovers.
Are they filming?
Need to be there for the filming. Not till November. They're doing the recording for me.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So they've cleared that. We have the girls coming around. Well, we have the crew coming around tomorrow. I'm on boom support and Kitty sitting duty. Which is going to be perfect because I probably won't need to do any boom support until later on in the day when Janelle's arms get tired. So for the morning, I'll be nursing my wine wounds and just keeping the cats at bay in the bedroom.
Well, we've got my brother-in-law's birthday party on Saturday. So
very nice.
Tyler's incredibly pumped. He loves hanging out with his bro-in-law.
He do.
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah, but, sorry, I forgot to say, it's a raspberry sorbet, too.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
I thought it was going to be better. It's okay.
Yeah, no, then they put sorbet on something. They better fucking back it up.
I know, right? But,
Yeah.
It's all right. It's okay.
It was like that vape I got that was vanilla ice cream, and it literally just tastes like vanilla essence.
I like that, though. I probably like that one. I never tried that one.
I wanted fucking more of a creamy, ice cream. I wanted to pretend I was eating the Mr. Whippy.
Sure.
So how's your... Oh, sorry. you go.
How's your week been, you Stupid?
Week's been pretty good, thank you. As we know, Handmaid Season 5 started this week.
Yes, I am aware. Have you started it?
We watched episode 1 last night, so they've dropped 2 episodes.
Got in the zone.
We got in the zone. I tried to put it on Wednesday night when they came out. Vinny and I were in bed, and he's like, "Oh no, baby, I can't watch this right before bed."
Mm-hmm. I understand
we
completely.
opted for a true crime instead, where someone gets slaughtered.
In real life.
Yeah, that's what I said to him. So we're watching true crime. We could do that, and he goes, "Yeah, but this is real, and that's too real." Like, okay.
Well, that's fictional, but sure.
Yeah. And we also, this week, we finally took our car to fucking Hoppies for a car wash to get done. We haven't washed it in, I'd say, probably 12 months. And the poor thing was crying for it, so it was good. But they found, when we were emptying the shit out the car, found on the back seat some dried spew that had affixed itself to the headrest on the side. And it was from Stuart Mitchell's 40th. When we were up the coast, we were driving back, and I was a little under the weather, and I had my head out the window throwing up, and it was spraying back because we're going down the highway at 110k an hour, and the spew, and so there was just this little spray. And to put it into context, Stuart's birthday was in February 2020. Was that his 40th of 2020 or last year?
Me, so it would have been 2020, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you had a redo after COVID.
Maybe. And then we, I think it was after COVID. So we pulled the seat forward so they'd see the spew, but they just pushed the seat back and didn't clean it off. So I've got to go down with the little brush and, like, it's not a big sticky chunder, just like specks of shit.
Marks. Gross.
Yeah.
It's still fucking gross, though.
So that sucked. And the other big thing is we're getting very close to our European holiday at the end of the year. I'm still trying to book our fucking train tickets because they don't release them till 12 weeks in advance. I've been checking every day, and I still can't book them. How about you? How's your week been?
Look, my week's been good. It's been very busy at work. I've been getting up at 6 a.m. to log on to do work. That's how hectic it's been all week.
That's unreasonable.
Yeah, it's been pretty full on. But I've been pretty knackered. But talking about cleaning your car, so I had my nieces stay over on Saturday night, and then my niece said to me when we were driving out to Eat Street, she's like, "Doy," she calls me Doy, "I really want to clean your car." And I was like, "Don't have to ask me twice, love."
Go for it, Dals.
And so she got up on Sunday morning, and she was like, "I'm going to go out and clean your car." She got the vacuum out there, vacuumed all inside, wiped everything down. She did an amazing job, and it's like a brand new car.
Oh, nice.
I'm loving myself sick with it.
Did she expect payment, or was it just out of the kindness of her heart?
Well, I had treated her the night before because we went to Eat Street, and then just as we were leaving, after I spent a ridiculous amount of money on her there, and she brought a $15 ice cream that she had 3 bites out of and then couldn't eat anymore because she was completely stuffed.
Yeah.
She
it's not cheap, is it, Eat Street?
No, it's not. And she walked into this store right at the end of closed store, and she found these pants, and she's like, "Oh, I have to have them. Could you buy them for me?" $40 later. I was a sucker, so yeah.
You will clean both our cars. Yes, you did. You did pay her. Tyler's car's there too, Dals. Get in there and scrub that.
But the really funny thing that happened to me, and I told you a little bit about this earlier, is that I got an official warning on Facebook.
Yes.
So it was so crazy, right? And like in retrospect, I understand what happened, but I'm just like, fuck off, Facebook. So the story is, when I was living at one of my houses that I lived on the Central Coast, we had a crazy party. We used to always have these crazy parties. And some rugby friends of ours came round, and they had a whole big pile of the rugby stickers, the Ram stickers that they had, and they used to always give them out to the kids and as jokes put them all over people's cars and do stupid shit like that. I didn't know they were doing it, but they came around and the rugby boys were just pretty much running around my house and just putting these stickers everywhere. I woke up in the morning after a massive night to stickers on my fridge, stickers in my bathroom, stickers on my front door, stickers on my bedroom window.
And what were they about the rugby club?
Just had the picture, the emblem, right? Just like a car sticker that you'd normally put on the back of your car. So I didn't find the bedroom window one until ages later. And then when we had to move out, they'd put it on the outside, but it had the sun shining on it and really plastered into the glass.
Yes.
So when I had to clean it off, I literally went through like a whole bottle of turpentine. I had like a chisel, and I was like chiseling and steel wooling and turpentining with gloves on. Like all the skin was peeling off my hands. And I still barely got it off, and they obviously didn't notice when we moved out. There were still little tiny specks of it when we moved. Anyway, so there was a post that came up on Facebook about that house, and then the guy who did it put a comment on there about, something about, ram stickers all over your room, because I had given him heaps of shit after the fact, and I'd messaged him at the time I was scrubbing it off going, I hate you so much,
yeah,
I'm going to kill you. So he posted something funny, and I went underneath and said, I kill you. Like, that was my comment back to him, because that's what I'd said to him at the time, and that's what I got in trouble for. So we were at Amanda and Russ's last night for tea. I saw his comment, made that comment back, went about my stuff, and anyway, I picked up my phone when I went to call an Uber, and I had this thing on my Facebook with like a big red rah, going, you violated the Facebook, whatever it is, code of conduct, rules and whatever the shit is, blah, 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 what you've said could offend people and it also incites violence, blah, 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 this is why we're cautioning you. And so I had the opportunity to get it reviewed, which meant if I didn't agree with it and they reviewed it, they would put my account on hold.
Yeah.
If I accepted it and got a smack on the wrist, then they would consider it a warning and give me access to my Facebook. But I had to accept that I'd done the wrong thing. So I was like, what
that would have been so hard for you. No, because it's not the right thing. It's a joke.
And I was like, what am I going to do? Am I really going to fight them? Because I did say, I kill you.
Yeah.
So
and was it a public page or something?
No, it was on my own. And my Facebook is actually really private because I've worked in...
It was on your own page?
It was on my own page on my own photo. So it wasn't a public chat that I'd said something on. So, and they've obviously got an algorithm that comes in and picks it up, because it wouldn't have been because someone had complained. There's no way someone would complain over that out of my friends.
Yeah.
And it wasn't directed at anyone. It was and it was said in jest. So it's obviously just been picked up by them. So I had to accept it and say, yeah, I get it. Give me the slap on the wrist. So now I've got, when I log into my Facebook, I've got this big orange band over my profile face, like on my main page, basically saying you're in warning. Period, and you're on probation.
I mean, it's kind of good in the sense that they've got that algorithm so they can pick it up for real cases of abuse.
Fuck off! It's my Facebook too. Like, do you know? If it was on a public thing, yes, I get it. But do you remember when Facebook first came out and you could say whatever you wanted?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, what's next? They're going to start telling us off for swearing if we say fuck off.
But you think of
like
domestic abuse things and stuff like that. Yes. That's where they'd have it. Yeah,
I totally get that. I do get that.
But they should look into it a little bit more if they're going to just have an automated process and say, "Hey, you're on a warning. Accept it or not."
I know. I just think
they should review it.
That whole censorship piece just way too far, and it's just one of those things. Anyway, I'm at a warning. I've got a big orange thing across my Facebook saying, you're in probation.
So now you just have to text him direct that you're going to kill him.
Well, as soon as I got the warning, I screenshotted it and sent it to him. I said, oh my God, I'm almost in Facebook jail because of you. The gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, exactly. That shit sticks, literally.
Yeah. So it was quite amusing. I thought that was a good little antidote for...
Anecdote. That's another one I've got to write down for the special.
On this evening.
All right. So, my time to go first, isn't it? My time to shine.
Sure is.
So, yes, we're doing Ned Kelly. So I'm going to talk about Australia's most famous outlaw and bushranger. And some might even say our very own Robin Hood, the leader of the Kelly gang, Ned.
Some might even say a super hottie, depending on which depiction you've seen him in and which film or TV show.
And actually, in real life, he was a bit of a dish too, if I do say so myself. His
Yeah.
look is actually very current today. It's hipster lumberjack style.
The long beard,
Yeah.
that's how I would have described it. Lumberjack, definitely.
Yeah,
Aussie
yeah.
lumberjack.
He's quite attractive, though I have seen pictures of him where he's been shaved as well, full shaved on his face, and his head then sort of gets a little
It's a bit
bit
weird. But that's
weird,
like
but
a
he's
lot
still...
of men with beards, isn't it? Like when
Yeah.
you see them with a beard, you're like, ooh, give me some. But then after, if you ever see them without a beard, you're like, ooh.
Back off, bitch. Yeah, you're lucky we're married.
I'm not talking about my husband.
I'm not talking about your husband either, or my husband. I'm just saying. We love our bearded husbands, and when they're clean shaven too.
Yes.
So Ned Kelly is an iconic Australian outlaw whose legend was born during the 19th century. Opinion about him is divided between those who see him as a folk hero and others who view him simply as a killer and a criminal.
It's a scoundrel.
Scoundrel. He was a naughty boy. So Edward Kelly, later called Ned, was born in approximately 1854 in Beveridge, Victoria. I would love to actually think Beveridge would be a nice place to grow up. Sounds fun.
Just from the name. Is that what you're going with?
Yeah,
Oh,
Beveridge. Fancy a beverage? Yes,
It's
please.
really quite funny that you're talking about 1854 because I'm going to talk about the 1850s.
Oh, look at us going way back in time. So he was born to John and Ellen Kennedy. Kennedy. He was born to John and Ellen Kelly. His father was an Irishman who'd been sentenced to 7 years transportation to Australia for stealing pigs.
I really would love that.
Oh, trust
Oink,
me.
oink.
When I came back and when I told him I was doing Ned Kelly, he was like, and, just waiting for the reference to the fact that his father was Irish. And I'll get to another little fun fact later about the Irish part. But John died when Ned was just 12, leaving the family impoverished. Impoverished. I have not even drunk half a
You were
bottle.
going to struggle with that one too. You managed to just like breeze through it though. I thought you were saying poverty. I was going to be like, what?
Impoverished. Duh.
The M was very silent. It was like, impoverished.
Throughout his youth, Ned was arrested a number of times. First 2 times, the charges were dismissed, but eventually he ended up serving 6 months, followed by a further 3 years. When he was released, his mother remarried and he began stealing horses with his stepfather. Yes.
I knew that.
That he stole horses with his stepdaddy.
Yes, I did.
In 1878, an arrest warrant was issued for Ned's brother Dan, leading to a policeman coming to their house. But the policeman had bigger grievances against the family. One, he accused Ned of shooting him. Ned and Dan fled into the bush, but their mother was arrested.
They flooded, did they?
They fled into the bush. For fuck's
The
sake.
bush.
Not even drunk. This is staircase all over again. But their mother was arrested and sentenced to 3 years imprisonment. They were joined by their friends Joe Byrne and Steve Hart, and the Kelly gang was born. Whilst initially only Ned and Dan had bounties on their head amounting of £100 each, this quickly rose to £500 apiece, then £1,000, and eventually even £2,000 for the apprehension, dead or alive, of each gang member.
That's a huge bounty for that time, isn't it? Massive.
So, and that 2,000 was a head as well, so it would have been 8,000 if you killed all 4 of them. Imagine that. You'd fucking have a sheep station fucking in every state. But the gang evaded police efforts again and again, and in December 1878, they stormed the National Bank at gunpoint, taking £2,000, and in February 1879, they took possession of a police station. Donning the police uniforms, they held up the Bank of New South Wales. I love it. This time, they took over £2,000, but before leaving, Ned gave a bank teller a written statement justifying the crime. It was a 56-page letter, which he had... I know, and it wasn't done on a typewriter.
Reminds me of that episode of Friends.
What was that?
Where she writes that letter to Ross and he falls asleep reading it. There's like 23 pages front and back.
Oh, God,
and agrees to all the things. And she's like, did it? Did it? He's like, it did. And then he agrees to something that he shouldn't have.
Okay. But yeah, the 56-page letter admits to his crimes, but he claims that police brutality forced his hand and caused him to become an outlaw. And he detailed the ways in which he felt his Irish Catholic family had been victimised by the law. It also threatens his adversaries. It also threatens his adversaries to donate money to a widow and orphan fund and leave Victoria or abide by the consequences. So that's the Robin Hood on him, isn't it? It has become known as the Gerald Derry letter. A similar letter was also sent to authorities at Eureka.
Wait until I do mine. I was sounding out so many words. I was like, I don't even know how to say this word.
Euroa. Eureka. A similar letter was sent to authorities at Eureka, where their previous bank robbery had taken place. By 1880, a friend of the gangs named Aaron Sherritt had become an agent for the police, providing information on his prior best friend Joe Byrne and the others. So I think Aaron was just pissed off that his BF Joe had ditched him and gone off with the cool Kelly gang. In June 1880, Joe shot him, despite their previous bond. In the immediate aftermath of this tragedy, the gang began to put their next big heist into action, but this one wasn't destined to have a happy ending. The Kelly gang planned to derail a train, bringing police reinforcements to the town of Glenrowan. Having made some local labourers to tear up the train track, the gang took control of a local inn, where they held the townspeople captured. However, during the night, Ned let a family go, as the mother was ill, because he's a nice guy. The father immediately went to warn the police, and the plan was thwarted.
What a fucker!
I know, he let him go, bitch. The police surrounded the inn, and
they
the gang...
wanted the money, that's why.
Yeah, the 8,000. Yeah, I get that. The police surrounded the inn, and the gang realised their mistake, and they donned on their famous metal suits of homemade armour, preparing for the siege. However, the combination of clunky armour and their consumption of alcohol meant that they weren't best prepared for the fight.
I love that.
They were surrounded.
Totally relatable.
100%. So the alcohol and my armour is affecting my speech pattern tonight. They were surrounded, and Joe Byrne was shot and killed. Subsequently, Ned was also shot and captured, whilst Dan Kelly and Steve Hart survived into the last hour of the siege. With most of the hostages safely out of the building, some released by the gang, others escaping in the confusion, the inn was then set alight. In the ashes afterwards, both Dan and Steve's bodies were recovered. This would become to be known as the Last Stand. As the only surviving member of the Kelly gang, Ned was the only one to stand trial. And despite a fair amount of popular support, he was found guilty of the murder of a number of policemen, primarily at Stringy Bark Creek, at the beginning of their life as bushrangers. He was hanged at Melbourne jail, uttering his final words, which we were all led to believe were, "Such is life." However, this has been debunked. No one has ever been quoted saying that they were his actual last words, or that they heard him say that. It was only one reporter, Jim Middleton, who filed his piece on the event for an early afternoon edition on the Melbourne Herald, reported that he heard Kelly say the famous phrase. However, what apparently happened is, as the hangman began to apply the noose around Kelly's elbow, which I thought was weird, so I think this is a lock-in mechanism, because he said, "There's no need for tying me." Kelly then glanced down to his spectators, and it appeared that his intention was to make a speech, but his courage eventually failed him, and he merely said, "Oh well, I suppose it has come to this," which is kind of like "Such is life," in a sense. So the newspaper journalist just hammed it up a little bit.
He still went with dignity.
He went with dignity.
Didn't cry and flail about, and,
I didn't do it. So, was our Ned a goodie or a baddie? So there's two sides of the argument. Baddie, he murdered a number of policemen. He terrorised local towns, holding people...
They were all corrupt back then, though, the police. Incredibly
100%.
corrupt, taking bribes left, right and centre, preying
It
on
was
the
their
weak
own
and
law.
the poor,
Yeah, it was their law. Yeah. They weren't held accountable for shit. He terrorised local towns, holding people to hostage, for example, at Glenrowan, the pub. People only call him a hero because they buy into a romanticised version of the story.
Sure.
That's just jealous people.
Bushrangers, for fuck's sake, you can't get much
And
cooler than that.
he was semi-cute too. He was kind of like, well, no, I won't say that. I was going to say it was kind of like the Ted Bundy of that age, but no, he didn't go back and root the dead corpses. So, so not really.
And he also murdered, corrupt people, most likely.
They were trying to kill him. Yeah. So the
last... baby, self-defense.
Exactly. So the final one is he let his mother be imprisoned while escaping and saving himself. So Ned's mother, Ellen, was sentenced to 3 years in prison, as we were saying earlier. But what she got sentenced for was attempted murder after she went for a constable with a spade when he came around looking to arrest her son for horse theft. She was such a model prisoner, though, that she was allowed to visit Ned in the prison hospital and later in his cells when he'd been captured, and got to see him one last time on the eve of his execution. I can't actually find any information on the escape. I'd searched high and low in Google, but and especially about him leaving his mother there. So I don't really know what that part's about, but I'm assuming it wouldn't have been easy for him to escape and then get his mum in on the plan as well. So the good sides. So he fought against a violent police force and stuck up for the working man. According to his letters, he was pushed into a life of crime by police brutality and being hounded by the force as a child. He tried to make the authorities give money to charity and stuck up for widows and orphans. And at Glenrowan, he'd let hostages go where there was illness and let more go during the siege.
Had compassion.
So he wasn't an absolute fucking, exactly, he was compassionate. So Ned in pop culture. So though Ned Kelly died in 1880, his story has kept him alive in the popular imagination. Many films depicting his life have been made, showing him as a heroic figure, despite the violence that marked his life. So some stats I found were that at least 9 feature films, 3 miniseries, and 2 TV movies have been made about Ned. You may also recall Yahoo Serious's version of Ned with Reckless Kelly.
Yes, I couldn't tell you about it now, but I did watch it back in the day when it came out in the 80s or whatever. Yahoo Serious was around. Young Einstein.
It was, hot on the heels of his other flick, Young Einstein. I wonder whatever happened to him, actually. Dun, dun, dun. Oh. Hello. Yeah. But yes, I think it was like the early 90s when Reckless Kelly came out. I don't know if I ever saw that one. I definitely watched Young Einstein. Anywho, I digress. So Ned Kelly has been portrayed by numerous actors over the years, including the Rolling Stones' Mick Jagger, Heath Ledger.
Which is what we talked about in the Woodstock episode. Do you remember? He was filming. Remember when I said, oh my God, I can't believe that Mick Jagger was in a Ned Kelly movie? Because that's why he didn't go to Woodstock, because he was in Australia filming Ned Kelly. I didn't realise he played Ned Kelly.
Yes, he played Ned Kelly. There you go.
You need to find that. I think I need to just at least see a clip of it.
Yeah, because we want to know what he's wearing, if he's just walking around in jeans and no shirt. I don't think he'd live up to the aesthetically pleasing face of the real Ned Kelly, like Heath Ledger did, but also John Jarratt and George Mackay. Now, it wouldn't be an article on someone for me unless I had some fun facts to present. So here goes. Kelly was Kelly was an Irishman by descent, with his father John Kelly, also known as Red, being born in
Ireland.
Where in Ireland?
It wouldn't have been Clonmel, was it?
But what's Clonmel in? Do you know what county Clonmel's in?
No, you're going to have to tell me. I
It's
forget.
a long way to Tipperary.
Oh, Tipperary.
So Vinny was very, very adamant that when he asked me when I came home and told him I was doing Ned Kelly, he's like, "Hey, what do you know?" And I was like, "He was born in Ireland." He goes, "Yeah, where?" And I'm like, "In Tipperary." So the farm is still there that Ned Kelly's dad was a part of, or owned, or his family owned, and it's about 20 minutes outside of Clonmel.
Oh.
And yeah, so he was transported, as we said, from there to Tasmania in 1841 for stealing 2 pigs. But apparently, Vinny had said to me that the pigs had been stolen from a farm in Carlow, and they were found on his property. And he did the found with the air quotes.
Yeah.
So whether he actually did it or not.
Mm.
But,
like anything back in those days. It was
exactly.
like, yep, you'll do.
Fate is fate. And they brought him over, and young Ned, or young Edward, became a fucking folklore icon. So while he was still a boy, Ned saved another boy from drowning. For this feat of bravery, he was awarded a green sash, which he would be wearing under his armour in his final gun battle.
Right.
Well, now, isn't that nice? He was actually only 5'8" in height. However, he was known to be physically imposing. So 5'8" is not that really tall, is it, for a fellow? Sorry to all our 5'8" listeners out there. The Kelly gang was known for its crude armour that they made. It was made from metal that they'd taken from agricultural equipment and offered significant protection from bullets. Ned's armour actually weighed 44 kilograms. So imagine him in his final...
with a lot of beer.
Imagine him in his final shootout, pissed, putting on 44 kilograms of fucking armour and trying to be effective.
It was smart, though. It was a way
It was
to
very
protect
clever.
themselves to be like, well, fucking shoot me if you want, but I've got armour on me.
Exactly. Well, and back then too, the bullets wouldn't have been fucking armour piercing, and it offered, as I said, significant protection from the bullets. So the gang's final shootout took place at the Glenrowan Hotel, where Kelly's armour made him look like a ghost as he emerged to the police from the fire. Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings have both recorded songs about Ned Kelly. Didn't know Johnny Cash had made over there.
No, I didn't actually.
And although the exact number is not known, it is estimated that a petition to spare Kelly's life attracted over 30,000 signatures.
Wow.
I know. And that wouldn't have been through fucking... I know we keep saying this because it's back in time, it's 1800s, but, you can email a fucking change.org petition around.
Yeah. And also that amount of people, the population was quite small as well. Like, to find that many people around that would sign it.
Actually sign it.
Well-liked.
Yeah.
And had a lot of support of the working class or the poor people.
And I'm sure a couple of people probably signed it, like Sean Hipkins, Sean Hopkins, Sean Hapkins.
Now, look, that's an assumption. You don't know that.
I do not know that, and I'm sure he was well loved. During the 1960s, Ned Kelly graduated from folklore in the academic arena. During the 1960s, Ned Kelly graduated from folklore into the academic arena.
No, I like it better when you said arena.
Arena. It sounds fancier and a bit more whimsical. His story and the social issues around land selection, squatters, national identity, policing, and his court case are studied at universities, seminars, and lectures still to this day. So what do you think? Do you think he was a hero or a villain?
I totes think he was a hero.
Yeah, me too. It's that whole Robin Hood thing. And I'm sure that there were some people that were affected directly by him that would not think he was a hero, outside of the police. But ultimately...
Do you know what's funny? Because when you were talking through, like, there was things that I didn't know, but most of it I knew, and I can't place where I know it from.
Yeah,
if it's from seeing the films. I think I might have done a report in primary school, maybe. So maybe I definitely knew about the mother being imprisoned. I knew about the standoff and all that sort of stuff. Like, I knew pretty much the basics.
So I
didn't remember he was Irish, though, half Irish. I didn't remember that.
So yeah, that's my Ned. Short and sweet.
Oh, I that. I love Ned.
I
I
know.
think he's endeared to me more because of Heath Ledger, and I adore Heath Ledger.
Well, you know, if Ned Kelly was alive today, you know, he'd definitely be on OnlyFans.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to do the gold rush, which I'm super excited about. And I am feeling a little bit drunk, so I'm going to stumble over my words too.
Fantastic.
Um,
Drunkenness loves company.
It does indeed. So the Australian gold rush, one of the biggest gold rushes in history, was started in New South Wales in 1851. Hundreds of thousands of diggers from other parts of Australia, Great Britain, Poland, Germany, and even California sought their fortunes and redefined Australia's national identity.
And Chinamen too, wasn't there?
Yes. I really love that part, how multiculturalism has always been part of our identity. I do know that I'm a bit naive about the subject because, as we've talked about before in other podcasts and then in this one, especially when we were growing up, we were taught about the gold rush as part of our national heritage, neglecting the whole history of Australia's First Nations people. But I still do like the fact that that's why we're such a multiculturalism, multicultural nation based on the fact everyone wanted to come and dig up some
Get gold. Woohoo!
It's at this point that I would also like to note that my research comes from National Geographic articles specifically created for grades 5 and 8.
Oh, very
so,
good.
As I told you, my secret to researching these episodes is normally
A dummy's guide too.
The dummy's guide too.
Hey, look, we want to
This
keep
time I
it.
went with school-age modules.
That is funny because I got a lot of my information from a teaching module for Ned Kelly too. We just want brief overviews. You know, we're not specialising on a topic.
Summary, and then we build on the summary, don't we? That's how we do.
We drunk talk on it, exactly.
Yeah. So on February 12th, 1851, a prospector discovered flecks of gold in a waterhole near Bathurst, New South Wales. Shortly after, more and more gold began to be discovered throughout New South Wales and into what would later become the neighbouring state of Victoria.
Oh, so Victoria wasn't around, it was just all New South Wales.
Yeah, and then it branched into Victoria. They decided to make it the state, I guess. I don't know the specifics of when it was originated. Maybe they were already planning to do that, but yeah, originally it was considered still New South Wales.
Wow.
As we know from our Australian education,
or not.
Education. This began the Great Australian Gold Rush, having a profound impact on our country's national identity. The gold rush also greatly expanded our population and boosted the economy. Within a year of the first discovery, more than 500,000 diggers rushed the goldfields of Australia. Many of these were immigrants from Britain, the US, Germany, Poland and China, settling in New South Wales and Victoria, with even more rushing from other parts of Australia. Wages in the region doubled, but it was still a difficult climate to find suitable workers, as many abandoned their stable employment to seek fortune in the goldfields.
Quick fist. It's like winning the lotto, isn't it?
I know. Well, then I've just put, I think I would have sought fortune in the goldfields in those days. What
Back
about
in those
you?
days. Yeah, totally. Because it's not like we're leaving...
Fuck it.
You wouldn't really be leaving the comforts of your home like it is now. It'd be like a log cabin somewhere where you're fucking slaving all day on farms. You'd be like, see you, bitches.
Yeah. I'm gonna make myself rich.
I'm gonna be a Kardashian.
The diggers forged a strong, unified identity of independent of colonial British authority. Difficult to do in Australia back then. This concept was the origination of the concept of mateship and continues to be central to the way Australian history is told, rightly or wrongly. And whilst there were versions of the gold rush or gold fever, if you will, occurring across the world in US, Canada and South Africa, these deposits were often in the form of gold dust or very fine grains. In Australia, however, it was commonplace to find nuggets of gigantic size and value.
Wow.
The largest of these, the Holtermann Nugget, weighed in at more than 75 kilos.
Holy fuck. That's not a nugget. That's a slab.
I know, and I've put here that you need to find a picture of it. A little bit about the Holtermann Nugget. The mass of gold, quartz and slate known as Holtermann's Nugget is not really a nugget as such. It is a mass of gold with attached rock broken from a quartz reef, a specimen, not an actual water-worn nugget of gold. It was the largest single mass of gold ever found.
Can I just interrupt you quickly?
Of course you
I
can.
have just Googled the Holtermann Nugget, and fuck me, it's
I know,
massive.
right?
It's like nearly as tall as the man standing next to it.
I did a tiny bit of research on it, and I do think it's about the placement that they use, and apparently the back imagery is fake as well. So they've put a photo on top of a photo and tried to make it look bigger. Like, it's still fucking huge.
Yeah.
But apparently it's about sort of creative photography also.
Right. And it does look like, well, yeah, it does look like a human turd as well.
I know, it's not attractive, is it?
Yeah.
It was discovered at 2 a.m. on the 19th of October 1872. So the gold rush started in 1951 in Australia. Oh, sorry, 1851 in Australia, so much later. In the Star of Hope mine on Hawkins Hill End in New South Wales, after a midnight firing of explosives revealed a wall of gold.
Wow.
Mine manager Bernhard Holtermann and syndicate member Lewis Byers were major shareholders in the Star of Hope gold mining company. So a syndicate was like a bunch of dudes who basically mined together and, you know, had their licensing together and, you know, did it all.
Yeah.
Had different roles and shit. The mining syndicate comprised of Bernhard Holtermann, Lewis Byers, and a bunch of other people. I'm not even going to say those names. There's too many. Holtermann and Byers received the credit whenever the discovery or mine was mentioned, but they did not actually make the gold discovery themselves.
Bastards.
Yeah, right. And the full story is more interesting. Holtermann gave orders to continue the shaft down vertically and rejected Hammond's advice that a westward extension would be best. However, on advice from experienced miners, Hammond went against Holtermann's orders, sealed off the vertical shaft at 150 feet and commenced the west dive, and the gold was found. So if he'd listened to Holtermann, they probably would have found it eventually, maybe. But they found it because of Hammond, really, and Holtermann got all the fucking credit. Dodgy.
Son of a bitch.
The gold value today would be about $5.2 million.
Holy fuck. Well, it's a sizable chunk.
I know, right? So soon after its discovery, the specimen was crushed in a stamper battery and melted down to extract its gold. It made Holtermann a rich man, and he built a palatial mansion, now part of Shaw Grammar, in St Leonards in Sydney. It had a square tower fitted with a 45-centimetre round stained glass window showing the famous picture of Holtermann posing with the nugget. My half, your half.
Your house. Our house.
Discovery of gold in Australia. There had been multiple gold finds in New South Wales, Bathurst and Monaro, Tasmania, and what would become Victoria, to the official discovery of the precious metal by Edward Hargraves near Orange in 1851. In 1841, Reverend William Brandwhite Clark, one of the earliest geologists in the colony, came across particles of gold near Hartley in the Blue Mountains. In 1844, he mentioned it to Governor Gipps, who reportedly said, "Put it away, Mr. Clark, or we shall all have our throats cut." Gipps feared that mutineers...
They were so well spoken back then too. Even though they lived in squalor and shit like that, the words that they used were so fucking proper. Put it away, Mr. Clark, or we shall get shot. And whom am I talking to?
Gipps feared that mutiny would result if the people of New South Wales, the majority of whom were convicts or ex-convicts, found that gold was in easy reach. In 1948, mineralogist William Tipple Smith found gold near Bathurst, and the following year revealed the find to the New South Wales Colonial Secretary Edward Thompson. Research by one of Smith's relatives established that Smith's find was the first discovery of payable gold. However, he was denied the recognition and monetary reward, which was ultimately claimed by Edward Hargraves. A dodgy piece of work, isn't it?
Yes. Ned Kelly would not have liked him.
No, not at all. He was all out for himself. So the government's attitude to gold discoveries changed in 1848 with news of the California gold rush. The promise of fortunes to be had across the Pacific led thousands of men to leave the colony, creating labour shortages and economic depression. Governor Charles Fitzroy had heard rumours of the gold to be found in New South Wales and believed a mineral discovery in the colony could reverse the economic downturn, which it did.
Mm.
He convinced the British government in 1849 to appoint a government geologist, Samuel Stutchbury, and offered a reward to anyone who found a commercially viable amount of gold. So that other dude, who Edward Hargraves basically claimed the rights that he found it, he'd already found a bit of gold, right? And so Edward Hargraves decides he's going to go out there. Edward Hargraves was a jack of all trades, farmer, storekeeper, publican, pearl sheller, and sailor. In 1849, he sailed for the Californian gold rush. He failed to find his fortune, but was struck by the topographical and geological similarities between California and the interior of New South Wales. I don't... Topographical, maybe?
I think topographical.
Topographical?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Topography, I think it's called.
Yeah, topography, yeah.
Yeah.
In January 1851, he returned to the colony, back to Australia, and immediately headed inland, convinced he would find gold and, more importantly, claim the government reward. So the other dude had gotten approval from the British government that if they found the location of where the bigger bit of gold was, that they would give a reward to the person that found it.
I just want the gold. Fuck off, government. Yeah.
So near Bathurst, Hargraves enlisted the support of John Lister and brothers William and James Tom. Within weeks, they had discovered a small amount of gold at a site Hargraves named Ophir, after a port city of great wealth mentioned in the Old Testament. Sounds like a real piece of work, this bloke.
Yeah, fucking hell.
Hargraves returned to Sydney in March 1851 and presented his samples to the government. Samuel Stutchbury was sent to confirm the strike, which he did. Hargraves was eventually awarded the £10,000 prize, which he refused to share with Lister or the Tom brothers. News of the find was promptly published in the Sydney Morning Herald, and by 15th of May 1851, 300 diggers had arrived in Ophir. The rush was on.
It's on, bitches. Isn't it crazy to think the Sydney Morning Herald has existed for that long?
I know. I was quite surprised. I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
The discovery of gold started a series of rushes that transformed the other Australian colonies. Significant deposits were discovered in Tasmania from 1852, in Queensland from 1857, and in the Northern Territory from 1871. In the 1890s, a new series of rushes were triggered by the discovery of huge goldfields at Kalgoorlie and Coolgardie in Western Australia.
Yes, Kalgoorlie. They're still going, those mines, aren't they?
I know, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, actually. Oh. Between 1851 and 1871, the Australian population quadrupled from 430,000 people to 1.7 million as migrants from across the world arrived in search of gold.
So say that again. What year was that happened?
Between 1851 and 1871. So in 20 years, it quadrupled the rate. So it started in 1851. That was the commencement of the gold rush, and then it went on for 20 years. By the end, they weren't finding as much.
I'm just thinking, because based on the 30,000 that signed Ned's petition, that's quite a decent chunk of the population. But
that was 1850. What year was it that he was hung?
So he was born around 1854. So he would have been hung, like 78? Where is it?
Oh, there you go, yeah. But still, it would have been spread out.
He died in 1880.
He died in 1880, there you go. So it was a much bigger population due to the gold rush,
but
definitely.
Still, yeah.
But still quite widespread.
Yeah.
There still would have been small pockets of towns and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Kalgoorlie's in fucking WA, isn't it? Yeah.
It sure is, yeah. In like really north and inland and it's hard to get to. So the largest non-European group of miners were Chinese, which you said.
I do remember that because they also encountered incredible racism too when they came over.
Yes, they did. most of whom were bonded labourers who suffered discrimination from the government and fellow diggers. It's
Yeah.
estimated that by 1855 there were 20,000 Chinese on the Victorian diggings. Hold on, sorry, cut this. Among the larger group of migrants were many men and women bringing new political ideas to the young colonies. Initially, the colonial establishment resisted such progressive thinking as a threat to their authority, and the resulting tensions culminated in the Eureka Stockade.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, I remember a white flag with a blue cross and blue stars or some shit. Yeah.
But a groundswell of public opinion brought about a series of world-leading social experiments, such as the secret ballot, the 8-hour day, and the formation of the Labor Party.
Yay! That's how I know about the Eureka Stockade.
Australia's huge reserves of gold made the country a destination for people from around the globe, and by the end of the 19th century, the rushes had helped create a wealthy, liberal society with a standard of living that was the envy of the world. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Eureka Stockade. On the 30th of November 1854, miners from the Victorian town of Ballarat, disgruntled with the way the colonial government had been administering the goldfields, swore allegiance to the Southern Cross flag at Bakery Hill and built a stockade at the nearby Eureka diggings. Early on the morning of Sunday 3rd December 1854, when the stockade was only lightly guarded, government troops attacked. At least 22 diggers and 6 soldiers were killed. So this is going back to what we were talking before about the corrupt nature of, the police and the government officials. And the rebellion of miners at Eureka Stockade is a key event in the development of Australia's representational structures and attitudes towards democracy and egalitarianism. That's the one I got stuck on. Egalitarianism.
Oh. What's that when you're at home?
I know, right? Gold was the catalyst for great change in Australia. The belief that you could dig your own fortune attracted people from across the country and around the world. Melbourne lost half its men to the goldfields. Crews abandoned their ships in port. Shepherds deserted their flocks. The call in London...
Not the sheep.
Not the shepherds. Didn't even know we called them shepherds in Australia.
In Australia, yeah. Just the pie.
The call in London, California, Germany and Italy was, off to the diggings! This massive influx of people was a serious challenge for the government. There were limited finances to provide services, and the colonial budget was already in deficit.
They had a budget for colonials.
They did. To raise funds, but also to discourage a flood of people moving to the diggings, particularly the Aussies. They didn't give a shit about the people overseas coming in. They didn't want the Aussies going because they had no workers.
Yes.
New South Wales Governor Charles Fitzroy and Lieutenant Governor Charles Latrobe of Victoria
Latrobe University.
Imposed a 30 shilling a month licence fee on miners. This was a substantial sum for most diggers, and when the easily obtainable surface gold began to run out in 1852, the licence fee became a point of contention.
And just imagine, so a 30 shilling thing was a lot of money back then.
Monthly.
Imagine what £200 would have been. Then going up to £2,000 a head. Yeah.
I know, it's crazy. In that year, the 35,000 miners in the Victorian goldfields were producing about 5 ounces of gold per head. By 1854, when the licensing came in, that had almost tripled, while production had decreased to 1.5 ounces per head. Conflict in the goldfields. Starting in 1853, miners began to gather in monster meetings to voice their complaints. Delegations presented their concerns to Governor Latrobe, but he was unreceptive to the request. Of course he was. If he wasn't making money.
Yeah.
Many of the diggers were politically engaged. Some had participated in the Chartist movement for political reform in Britain during the 1830s and 1840s, while others had been involved in the anti-authoritarian revolutions that spread across Europe in 1848. So now we're getting political. The situation on the goldfields was tense as police regularly ran licence hunts to track down diggers who hadn't paid their fees. The miners claimed the police were extorting money, accepting bribes, and imprisoning people without due process. Surprise! On 6th of October 1854, the Scottish miner, James Skye, was killed in an altercation at the Eureka Hotel in Ballarat. The proprietor, J.F. Bentley, was accused of the killing. A court of inquiry was held and Bentley was quickly exonerated. The diggers sensed a miscarriage of justice, not a difficult conclusion since one of the court members, John Hughes, was a police magistrate well known to have taken bribes from Bentley. On the 17th of October 1854, about 5,000 men and women gathered to discuss the case. They decided to appeal the decision, but after the dispersal of the crowd, a small group decided to set fire to the Eureka Hotel. Having done so, they were arrested by police. I feel like that wasn't the best choice.
Yeah.
But it may not have changed the course of history the way that it had if they didn't. I guess they were really frustrated. They were fucking over it.
Officially.
Over the next weeks, the miners met and elected delegates who, on 27th of November 1854, approached the new Victorian governor, Charles Holtermann. They demanded the release of the men who had burnt down Bentley's hotel, but the governor took offence to having demands made of him and dismissed their grievances. He then dispatched 150 British soldiers in the 40th Regiment of Foot to Ballarat to reinforce the police and the soldiers already stationed there. Sensing a change in atmosphere, the diggers held another mass meeting at Bakery Hill. There, the newly created Eureka flag was unfurled.
Oh.
Which is what you were talking about.
Yes.
The Eureka flag.
Yeah.
The police were unsettled by the hostility building among the diggers and decided to implement a licence hunt the next day. That morning, as the police moved through the miners' tents, the diggers decided they had had enough, so they gathered and marched to Bakery Hill. At this meeting, the charismatic Irishman, Peter Laylaw, became the leader of the protest. Laylaw led the miners to the Eureka diggings, where the men and women joined him in an oath. We swear by the Southern Cross to stand truly by each other and fight to defend our rights and liberties. They were just trying to fucking live their lives, you know.
Yeah.
Then
they've got these bastards on their tail.
Yeah. Then the company gathered timber from the nearby mine shafts and created a stockade. Over the next 2 days...
What is a stockade?
It's like a building of wood. Like a thing that you hide behind, I think.
What's a
stockade? Like a bunker? Like a little cabiny bunker thing. I think of when I was putting this together, I was thinking of old
It's a
Sydney
barrier.
Town.
You're right. A barrier formed from upright wooden posts or stakes.
There you go. A stockade, if you will.
A stockade.
Over the next 2 days, the men and women remained in and around the stockade, many performing military drills in preparation for possible conflict. This was too much for the Commissioner of the Ballarat Goldfields, Robert Reid. He called for the police and army to destroy the stockade at first light on Sunday the 3rd of December 1854. What a prick.
Yeah.
That morning, almost 300 mounted and foot troopers and police attacked the stockade. The assault was over in 15 minutes with at least 22 diggers, including one woman and 6 soldiers losing their lives. The police arrested and detained 113 of the miners. Eventually, 13 were taken to Melbourne to stand trial. Governor Hotham called for a Goldfields Commission of Inquiry on the 7th of December, but the citizens of Victoria were opposed to what the government had done in Ballarat, and one by one, the 13 leaders of the rebellion were tried by jury and released.
Oh, good.
Jury was like, fuck that. They can go.
A jury of your peers. See you, bitches.
In March 1855, the Commission of Inquiry released its recommendations. The licence fee was removed, replaced by an export duty and a nominal £1 per year miner's right.
£1 per year.
Half the police on the goldfields were sacked, and one warden replaced a multitude of gold commissioners who had issued the licence, many of whom were corrupt. 12 new members were added to the Victorian Legislative Council, 4 appointed by the Queen and 8 elected by those diggers who held a miner's right. One of these members was Peter Laylaw, who who had survived the Eureka clash but had been wounded in the left arm, which was later amputated.
Oh, yeah, they didn't have great medical shit back then, did they?
I know, right? It was a victory for the miners and one of the key steps to Victoria instituting male suffrage in 1857 and female suffrage in 1908, aka the right to vote clause.
Yes, Sister Suffragette. Do you know what that's from?
Oh, that Labour.
No, Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins.
So I had some other notes, and I was going to lead into this before I started talking about, but the Bryce Courtenay novels, and I think we talked about this when we were planning to do this topic, are based in the Gold Rush. And if you've read some Bryce Courtenay before, haven't you?
No, just the
never.
Wilbur Smith, yeah. I know Mum's got a heap of their books, Mum and John. His books.
His Bryce Courtenay's earlier stuff is way better than the older stuff. The newer stuff, because it went down a whole, predictable sort of thing. But his early books are amazing. And I got really interested in the Gold Rush when I was probably about 18, I think, from reading his books. And, I was a little bit obsessed for a while.
Mm.
But,
and does he cover factual stuff but then entwine his fiction into it, or?
Yeah, so factual events. But a fictional retelling of those events, and it's a series that goes across like 3 massive books. Like the first one's quite thick, but the second 2 are just huge, giant books. But a very good story, and talks about just a lot of the Chinese stuff is in there, and
I'm just picturing when everything Chinese in the Gold Rush was the bamboo hat and the long pigtails,
yeah. So there you go. Look at all the political stuff that came out of that.
I know. It's crazy, isn't it, to think that something like finding a massive gold nugget, or was it they were just finding gold nuggets as compared to dust, turned into this revolution. And
that's the other thing I wanted to say is when I went to Kalgoorlie, so I used to go there for work a little bit a few years ago, about 6 or 7 years ago, and one of the managers that I used to meet with when I was there, her partner used to have a metal detector, and he used to go out, and she had actual chunks of gold that they had found, and she brought one into work one day and said, "Here, there's a photo of me holding this nugget of gold."
Oh, wow.
And I think
How big was it?
Oh, I don't know, the size of...
A sizable nugget, yeah.
The size of a lighter, maybe?
Okay.
Maybe, but obviously shaped like a nugget.
Yeah.
And it was worth like heaps of money, like 10 grand or something, or 5 grand or something like that. I can't remember the specific. And I remember holding it, going, "Oh my god, this is so cool! I've never seen gold."
And you were holding $10,000 basically in your hand.
And he used to go out and and it was quite a common hobby for people who lived in Kalgoorlie to have a metal detector and go out on their weekends and spend an hour or 2 here and there trying to find gold. And
for our international listeners, Kalgoorlie isn't exactly a bustling metropolis, is it?
No,
so you wouldn't really
dirt
have
roads, one pub.
Yeah, you wouldn't have else much to do on a weekend except for try and find your fortune, I guess.
Yeah, it was a real trek to get out there, but I loved it out there because I went to see the mines too. I think
you went and saw the pit,
The pit, yeah. Is it nickel or is that what it is? A nickel pit?
I think so, yeah.
And that was insane. And the people and the trucks and everything down there look like ants, and you're up the top on the viewing platform, and it's so deep.
Because it's fucking deep, yeah.
Yeah, it was. And the whole time I was there, I was like, I wish Link was here. Like, it was such an amazing experience. And she said to me, she was like, "Do you want to go out to the pit?" And I was like, yes. And they had bombing when I was there as well. Not bombing, where they blow stuff up. So where they blow up the explosives, so they blew up parts of the mine, and they tell all the businesses and things like that, we're going to have explosives off at this time.
So they can come out and watch.
Well, I think it's just if it's going to impact their business and what they're doing.
I've got a Teams meeting at 12 o'clock.
And I think it gets really dusty too. Like, I think the dust comes up and it covers everything. So it's like, heads up, guys. We're going to, put some explosive in part of the mine and,
I wonder how long it takes to get to the bottom of the pit. How much of your workday is that commute?
Lifts. I think it's
I know, but it'd still be you think if the trucks were the size of ants and shit, you think it'd be a fucking fair chunk of time just sitting in there.
And I think they stay down there too, don't they? They've got cabins and camps and stuff like that. I don't think they
that would make sense.
Commute come up
to and from each day.
But
So
it was very cool. It was a very cool experience.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I would like to see it. Vinny would love it. But I had a quick Google of what egalitarianism is. It's a school of thought within political philosophy that builds from the concept of social equality, prioritizing it for all people. So
Which is really what the Labor Party is about, isn't it?
Yeah, so I kind of like them.
How did you pronounce it? Did it give you the syllables so that you know how to pronounce it properly?
Egalitarian.
There you go. It seemed like it had a few more syllables in it when I tried to pronounce it.
There's egalitarianism, and that's pronounced egalitarianism.
You did it much better than I did it.
I heard her say it in my ear as I mimicked her, but yeah, I will copy in the broken down the syllables part for you into the chat.
I think I said it close to okay.
Have a look.
Egalitarianism. Fucking
I
know
don't
what
know
I
how
said.
"oo" is meant to be E. Egalitarianism.
Maybe it is egalitarianism.
Egalitarianism.
Who fucking knows?
It's about equality, and that's what we're for.
It's a thing in the 1850s-ishy.
Speaking of equality, is it next week or the weekend after? It's next week. We've got our Pride March in Brisbane.
Do we? Yes, it is next week. It is too. Yeah.
Pride. Well, we'll just, as they march past
quick.
us, so we'll be standing on the... That's what she said. So as we're standing on the street cheering them go past, we can go, egalitarianism, egalitarianism.
Yes, that's totally true. That's like a sign.
Yeah.
With all those, like, what do you call it?
Symbols, flags.
The
Eureka Stockade. Oh, yes, the pronunciation, the syllables. Yeah.
That's where I was going with that. Well, thanks for listening to our episode from back in the 1800s. Plus, we hope you enjoyed our history lesson. Some courtesy of you from Australian public school education.
Dittos. Tune in next week for What's the Haps, where we discuss the big ticket items from August and September 2022. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. We are nearing our 4,000 listens, and we are ready to celebrate that milestone. So get us there, you stupid bitches, and thanks for listening.
Night, stupid bitches. Good
night. Good night.
We're nearly...
Yeah, that stupid bitch. He's a stupid bitch. What a stupid bitch. That stupid bitch.